Well, incompetence, cruelty, criminality, treachery and treason. That is how Donald Trump's estranged niece has described his time in the White House.
And in her new book, The Reckoning, Mary Trump is warning the worst is still to come. And Mary joins us now in New York. Thanks for being with us, Mary.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So we know he's your uncle, but you don't like him too much, do you?
Well, honestly, I think his record speaks for itself. The words I use to describe him aren't arbitrary. They're based on actual things he's done to other people and to our country.
Do you like him personally, though?
I've only seen him twice in the last 21 years. So I don't know if I would like him now. I think it's doubtful. But when I was a kid, we got along pretty well. We weren't close because I don't think Donald really gets close with people. But, particularly when I was working with him on his third book, we had some fun together.
Like what?
We traveled a bit. I went out to Vegas with him once and down to Mar-a-Lago a few times. And I was in his office every day for a few months. So it was interesting to get to see a side of him that I didn't really see at family functions. I mean, he's pretty much the same in any setting, but, he was doing different things.
The fact that you've basically had very little or no contact for the past 20 years, when you look at the language you've used around him, it's incredibly, incredibly strong. Do you know him well enough to make those accusations?
Yeah, I do. I've known him my whole life. And again, although I haven't seen him in 20 years, I saw him for the first 36 years of my life. And one thing you can say about Donald is that he never evolves. He's literally the same person he's always been. So I didn't really feel like I was taking any risks in trying to analyze his behavior for other people.
Okay, I guess everyone, now that he's left the presidency, or left the White House at least, is he going to come back? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, in a way, it's as if he's never left, and that's, thankfully he's not in the Oval Office anymore. However, the Republican Party seems determined to keep Donald relevant. They seem determined to keep him empowered. And that's a really disturbing trend because he's a negative force in American politics. And the best thing would have been for him to lose and go away, which is what pretty much happens with any other person who loses an election, certainly as badly as he did after only one term. So it's unfortunate that the Republican Party in America seems to still find value in keeping Donald around.
See, I feel he has gone away to a certain degree. He's certainly not making headlines every single day, but by writing another book on him, don't you help to keep him relevant?
No, I honestly wouldn't have written the book if I didn't feel that he was being kept relevant by other forces. And I'd have to say also, it's very different here from what it's like in other countries. We're much more subjected to him than other places are. So we're still hearing about him every day in one way or another. So again, I think the danger isn't that, I wrote about him. And by the way, my second book isn't really about him, although, of course, he does have to play a role because I looked at the 4 years of his administration. It's that for political reasons, Republican leadership and Republican governors are keeping him relevant by going to visit him in Mar-a-Lago, asking for his permission, asking for his endorsements, and they're just sort of perpetuating the problem. And I think we're at such a delicate and dangerous place in American democracy that we ignore him at our peril.
It should be a summer breeze for Joe Biden, but it's clearly not. I mean, America has to be disappointed with the current president.
I don't think most of us are, actually. I know that Afghanistan has been a huge challenge. I'm not an expert, so I'm not going to speak to it. In fact, that's part of the problem. A lot of people here who have very strong opinions about what's happening over the last couple of weeks are not experts in Afghanistan. But I think generally speaking, we have to realize that Joe Biden was dealt one of the worst hands of any incoming president before him. He was dealing with COVID. He was dealing with an economic crisis. Hundreds of people were still dying every day. So I think we need to look at whatever he's doing in that context. Also, we have to remember that we're still dealing with a political crisis that's not over yet, and it hasn't actually been decided yet. So I'm personally willing to give him a bit of a break. I'm willing to give him more time. It's only been 7 months.
I mean, come on, Mary, how can anyone, I don't think you have to be an expert to look at what happened in Afghanistan to say that it was an utter and complete stuff-up.
Well, last I heard, over 30 to 40,000 people have been evacuated. No Americans have lost their lives since the beginning of the evacuations. Also, Afghanistan was a war started 20 years ago by George W. Bush. Donald Trump made a deal with the Taliban. He released 5,000 Taliban prisoners, and he pardoned the head of the Taliban, who is now taking over the Afghan government. So I think it's a bit of a stretch to lay all of this at President Biden's feet. Was it done perfectly? No. Was it tragic? Yes. Is it still tragic? Yes. But this is a war that America lost. And getting out of a country where you've been defeated is never going to be easy. It's never going to be neat. So the alternative was what? Staying in Afghanistan for another 20 years and accomplishing nothing?
At the end of the day, do you think he'll be back or not?
If you're talking about Donald, my answer is I certainly hope not. But again, we unfortunately can't discount the possibility.
Okay.
I don't think he's doing rallies because he's not interested. You know what I mean?
Well, precisely. There's a reason those rallies keep happening, and it's not just his ego.
Good on you, Mary. Lovely to chat to you, actually. Mary Trump's book, The Reckoning, America's Trauma and Finding a Way to Heal, is available now from all good book retailers.